Welcome back to my channel. Today is a special celebration to mark the fact that we've now got more than 5,500 subscribers. So thank you very much for your continued support. It is appreciated. So we're going to have a question and answer session, and I'm going to be trying to answer some of the questions you've sent to me in the last couple of weeks. If I don't get to your question, then please leave it again in the comment section and I'll be happy to answer it as soon as I can. Thank you. So a question I've been asked several times is, how did I get into blogging? And that all began back when I was invited to write a recipe column for a Sunday newspaper called the Sunday Mercury. And that was because of the famous people I've cooked for throughout my career. And I did a recipe column for about 5 years, and then I thought I would try my hand at blogging. I started blogging in 2006 and then moved my blog across to WordPress in 2015. My WordPress blog has received 19 million views in 10 years, so that's pretty good going. So if you're not familiar with my blog, go and check it out. So I've been asked, why did I decide to start a YouTube channel? So before COVID, I was giving cooking lessons in person to various groups, and I really enjoyed doing that. And then along came COVID, and I had to find a way that I could still give those cooking lessons but without being there in person. So I started doing them on Zoom, and I also wanted to record those cooking lessons so the students could use the recipes as a cook-along tool. So I started filming the recipes, and then I needed some way for the students to go and view those recipes, so I opened up my YouTube channel. But I posted all those recipes privately just so the students could view them. And then after doing that for some while, I decided, well, why not publish some of the recipes for the public? And that's how my YouTube channel started. The next part of the process of how this has grown is that I wanted to see if I could incorporate my YouTube videos into my blog, because sometimes with all the different things I have going on as a chef, as a writer, as a food judge, I feel like I'm the circus juggler with all those plates spinning around and trying to keep them all balanced and still spinning. So I have now managed to achieve that a little bit, but I'm still working on that to have more integration between my YouTube channel and my blogs. So I've also been asked, well, what famous people have you cooked for during your career? And a lot of that comes down to, if you are cooking in a capital city, at hotels or restaurant, then you're more likely to come across and cook for famous people. But amongst those famous people that I've cooked for throughout my career is the late Queen Elizabeth II, American presidents, Reagan, Bush Sr., and members of the Kennedy clan. I've also cooked for quite a few movie stars, including Paul Newman, Michelle Pfeiffer, and other sporting stars. People often ask me, well, how did I cook for Michelle Pfeiffer? And it's quite an interesting little story. At the time, I was consulting in a restaurant in Virginia, and she came along and had dinner at the restaurant, and I was trying to sort out the kitchen, make the kitchen work better. And she enjoyed her meal, and she asked, could she speak with the chef? And at first, when they came in and said, Michelle Pfeiffer's in the dining room and she'd like to speak to you, I said, well, no, I thought you were pulling my leg. But no, she was actually there because she was in the area in Washington, D.C. to film the Batman film where she played Catwoman. So eventually I went out to the dining room and sat down, and she invited me to have a beer. We talked for a little while, and she was telling me all about the film that she was involved in, and asked me a lot about food and my thoughts on food and about the food that she eats. So that was really interesting. So often when you're a chef, you can rub shoulders with the rich and famous. Another interesting question I've been asked is, What items made for a professional kitchen are helpful, useful and practical in home kitchens? So my starting point about any home gadget is if you are using it a lot and if it is actually saving you time in what you're trying to achieve, then yes, it is absolutely a useful gadget. But you also have to strike a balance between what cupboard space you have in your particular kitchen. There's no point in having every gadget and taking up all your counter space and then never using those gadgets. So for instance, I have a nice powerful food processor, which is very handy, but I don't use it all the time. But I also have space in my cupboards to store it away, so I'm not stealing any of my counter space. I don't use little fiddly gadgets like a garlic press. No professional chef would ever use a garlic press. Use your knife to cut and peel garlic and then chop it up. You can also use a hand blender. A hand blender can be very useful because unlike a food processor, you can take the blender to the saucepan that you're trying to blend, say for instance soup, up, and it may prove to be more useful and less wash up, because that's another consideration when you're using a gadget, is it's no point in saving you time up front if then you're spending all that time cleaning the device afterwards. I've also been asked what tips I have gleaned from working in professional kitchens that I can pass on and be used in home kitchen setups. So let's talk about a wide range of things. First off, you need to, if you're following a recipe, read the whole recipe through before you start to cook. Make sure that you've got all of your ingredients prepped before you start to cook once again. Check all the timings, make sure you know what you're trying to achieve. And then you want to think about vegetables and stuff like that. For example, if I'm doing vegetables and say potatoes with a pork chop, I might par cook the vegetables, chill them down, and then when the pork chop and the potatoes are ready, then I can just cling wrap the vegetables and heat them up very fast, either by steaming or in the microwave, and then the vegetables aren't overcooked. It's all about timing, making sure that all the ingredients are produced and ready at the same time. When it comes to storage, I always, before I go to the store, I check what I've got in the fridge so I don't buy something and then find I've still got some in my fridge. I don't buy a huge shop load. I buy a smaller amount so it's less likely to get wasted. I make sure that heavy items are not sitting on top of light items when it comes to the crisper box in the fridge. And when it comes to freezing things, even in a home environment, I label what the item is, what the date is, and make sure it's well wrapped, double wrapped before I put it into the freezer, and then I'll rotate it and not leave it in my freezer for any longer than 1 month. That way, that helps to cut down on waste and also keeps the quality of the food as good as possible. So this draws to a conclusion my first question and answer session. We hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like more question and answer sessions, please leave a comment, of course, below. And coming up soon, that we're going to come up with some more recipes, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Thank you.